in Stamford Bridge, and today, Manu was unbelievable. What a sign the club has done with that guy. What a sign. Can play the fullback, can play central defender, now can play holding midfielder. When arriving in the final third, has the ability to, to make passes. He's fast, he's strong. Oh, what a player Chiqui has brought me here.
Now that's Pep Guardiola speaking on Manuel Akanji and his performances at Manchester City. You see how he focuses on things like him being versatile, him being great in possession, his overall reading of the game. And for Inter, a team that wanted themselves an experienced centre-half, but not as experienced as somebody like HAJJBALL, who's 37, 38. I feel like Akanji is a very, very, very good coup, especially when you bear in mind, I don't know what the split is, but they're not paying all of his wages. The loan fee is about 2 million. Akanji comes in, he brings speed, power, physicality, experience. It's a very, very, very good signing. But why did it take defeat against Udinese to force Inter into the market to address an area which they probably should have addressed before the Club World Cup? But at the same time, Pavard has left for Marseille. It leaves me asking myself a lot of different questions, because I looked at Inter's backline and I was like, surely if there was one player to demote, one player to cut out his minutes, it would have been HAJJBALL. Pavard, for me, his ball playing ability is still second to none. And I definitely would have kept him on board. Yes, injuries, yes, you can't really rely upon him, but it's not as if Inter have generated any money from him going to Marseille. But listen, we are here to talk about Akanji. What can he bring to Kivu's Inter? Is it a good signing? Yes, it's a very good signing, but I'm here to break it down for every single one of you guys. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Now let's start off with the most cliche, experience. Akanji has been at Manchester City for about 3-4 years, and let's just say he's won it all. He's contributed. The injury record is in his favor. Like, besides last season when he had a relatively adductor injury, he's reliable. He starts week in, week out. But where he's benefited Pep Guardiola and Manchester City is in two different ways. Now, I feel like the perfect game to highlight what Chivu wants from Akanji and why Akanji is a very, very, very good signing is the Champions League final. I know, it's so crazy. He comes to Inter, and the game that I'm using to break down how important he is against Manchester City. Because when you look at the one and only goal in that Champions League final, it all starts with Akanji. Now, Chivu, every coach in the world, what do they want from their centre-halves? They want them, one, to be good defenders, but two, they want them to be defenders that can carry the ball into space. They want them to be defenders that can also carry into space, make the progressive pass, play as makeshift midfielders when they've got possession. And that's exactly what Akanji done against Inter. Now you can see he receives the ball here. Look at all the space he has available to him. He carries it into it. But now that he's carried the ball, he makes the progressive pass. 1 or 2 deflections, the ball comes to Rodri, 1-0 to Manchester City. That is Akanji in a nutshell. He's great at carrying the ball into space. He's great at stepping into midfield, as Pep Guardiola mentioned at the beginning of the video, because Pep Guardiola, throughout his time at Manchester City, hasn't just utilised him as a centre-back. He's used him as a full-back. He's also used him as a makeshift number 6 sitting in front of the defence. Why? He's tenacious, he's aggressive, he's fast, he's strong, but he's very good in possession. If we were just to look at some of his numbers, like the one that stands out the most, 7.95 passes into the final third. If a midfielder done this, we'd all be sat screaming, wow, one of the best midfielders in the world. But what if I was to tell you this is a centre-back that plays deeper than a midfielder, progressing play, getting it into the attacking areas, towards the attacking players, 7.95 times per 90. So let's just say 8 times a game. Like, let's be honest, when you look at Manchester City, when you look at their dominance in the Premier League, in Europe, throughout, besides last season, it happens because their defenders are as good as their midfielders in possession. And to be honest with you guys, Akanji, for a 2 million loan fee, he brings a lot to Inter in terms of versatility, in terms of his flexibility, in terms of his physical ability, his technical ability. These numbers are not a joke. Now, another area where Akanji really helps Inter is the fact that when you look at Inter, and I mentioned this funnily enough yesterday against Udinese, where I was like, if Bastoni has one bad game in possession, Bastoni lost the ball 25 times against Udinese. Inter really struggled to play out of the back, not because of Udinese's ridiculous press. It's just Bastoni, the weight, the accuracy on his passes wasn't there yesterday night. Bastoni plays on the left-hand side, and there's such a heavy focus on Bastoni to be the centre-half. that steps into midfield. Bastoni to be the centre half that progresses play, that carries the ball, that offers the overlap / underlap to somebody like DeMarco. Centrally, no ball progression within Inter. On the right hand side, not much ball progression is coming from somebody like Bisek, Acerbi. If you put Akanji, who is a right-footed player, who suits to play on the right side of a 3, and then you've got Bastoni on the left side of a 3, like, let's be completely honest, you've now got yourself ball progression for days. It means the Barellas, the Sucic, the Çalhanoğlu's, they'll be getting onto the ball far more, far quicker, into dangerous areas. And the thing about Akanji is, even once he steps in to the final third, he's no slouch. He doesn't look out of place. And the prime example was the goal against Inter. You could see he's comfortable to carry into congested areas. He's comfortable to make a pass that can lead to a goal. He's great from set pieces. Like, if anything, it's one of those signings that has me thinking, why have Manchester City let him go for so cheap? And the only thing that I'm thinking of is his age. He's 29, 30 years old. Manchester City have gone out and signed so many far younger centre-backs. They probably want to put the time and energy into them. But Akanji for 2 million, the experience that he brings, I think it's a great signing for Inter. Especially when you bear in mind, it's a department where they needed serious improving in. You're bringing a guy that's as versatile as him, as experienced as him. Like, to touch on his ball carrying, you could see this. He's comfortable. From in his own half, carrying. He's surrounded by what? 3-4 Arsenal players. Comfortable. Very, very, very comfortable in possession. Very comfortable out of possession. My only concern with Akanji is, Akanji for me, as much as he's gifted technically, he's gifted physically, his reading of the game is ridiculous. Like, in case you didn't know, he's a maths genius. He's like the human version of a calculator. There's videos of him all over YouTube. My only issue with Akanji is I feel like he's very nonchalant. What do I mean by that? Like, he can be passive. He can have lapses in concentration. And you know what the best example is? Once again, against Inter in the Champions League final. You could see the pass back to the goalkeeper. He doesn't have the awareness. He doesn't know where Lautaro Martinez is. And fair enough, this is one example. But this is one example of many throughout his time at Manchester City. Sometimes he doesn't put his body on the line to stop the opposition from scoring. Sometimes he doesn't sprint full pelt 120 miles per hour to stop the opposition. He comes across like very nonchalant, very relaxed, very cool. And don't get me wrong, in some occasions, that calmness is what you need. But also in other occasions, you need somebody to be at 150%. And I feel like that's the one piece of criticism that's been dished his way throughout his 3 years at Manchester City. Great defender, great ball progressor, great ball carrier, a leader, great reading of the game. He can play in midfield, but his biggest downside has been he has lapses in concentration. He has moments where he looks disinterested, and maybe, just maybe, it's the fact that he was always in and out of the team at Manchester City because Pep Guardiola rotates. Maybe, just maybe, he needed himself a new competition. Maybe he suffered a lot from Rodri's injury. But I'm looking at him and I'm saying, Chivu, if you can get him on board and you can keep him locked in, Inter have got themselves a guy that's experienced, versatile, physically gifted, technically gifted, for 2 million a season loan fee. Like, for me, this is a very low risk, high reward type of signing. And even if it means a 12-month stopgap, 12 months, gets the job done, goes back to Manchester City, and this time next summer, Inter can address their defensive issues, so be it. There's not many players in the world on transfer deadline day available for 2 million that are better than Manuel Akanji. But yeah, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on another one.